Welcome to TRINKtalks, our series of live conversations with winemakers from Austria, Germany, Alto Adige, and Switzerland. These conversations are an extension of Trink magazine, designed to offer a deeper understanding of the individuals, regions, and cultures behind your favorite bottles of wine. My name is Paula Rita Sidor. I'm a writer and editor and translator based near Bonn, Germany, and together with Valerie Katawala, the co-founder of Trink. Before we get started today, a short bit of housekeeping about who we are and how we do things. Because we have a limited time, we're asking participants to please mute your mics. Just drop any questions you may have for our panel into the chat, and we will leave time at the end of the discussion to address them. And if you're comfortable, please also drop a note into the chat letting us know where you're tuning in from. We're excited to have a fantastic panel with us today to offer three fascinating perspectives on Pinot in Germany's Mosel Valley. We have Toby Feiden from Terrassen Mosel, Gerna Kohlmann from Weingut Imich Bad Rieberg, and Jonas Dostert of Dostert Wines in the Obermosel. We want to say a special thank you to the Mosel Weine e.V. and Ansgar Schmitz for helping us put today's talk together. Today's talk is a special one. It was inspired by the story that kicked off our Pinot edition this fall, Spätburgunder in the Mosel, or a Riesling dressed in red, written by our senior correspondent, Christoph Raffelt. Christoph has been writing about wine for nearly 2 decades, starting with his own German blog, originalverkocht.de, and going on to write over 1,000 stories for some of the industry's top titles. In 2012, he founded the first German wine podcast and is now 300 episodes strong. It's there that I first got to know Christoph, and it continues to be a part of my regular podcast rotation. Christoph blends the critical and the curious in a single compelling voice, both on the page and in the microphone. And we could think of no one better to lead today's discussion than Christoph himself. So with that, Christoph, the show's yours.
Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you to have the opportunity to talk about Mosel Pinot Noir, to talk about a fairly new phenomenon, I would say, which has been gaining a lot of momentum in recent years. I got in contact, I think, with my first Mosel Pinot maybe 10 years ago with a Pinot from Uli Stein. And a couple of years later with the one we will be talking about. Yes, Gernot has a tribute wine today on his table, but I think it's a Riesling, so it's a white wine from Uli. It's a red one. Okay.
Yeah. It's a 2005 Pinot from Uli. So really as a tribute to him, and as he was really one of the first at the Mosel Valley, at the new Pinot wave of the Mosel Valley.
Yeah, the new Pinot wave. That's the point. When I started my researching trip, I've been at the Mosel for a week. I have been in the winery of Gernot, of Imich Bad Rieberg, and from then on traveling to Obermosel, to Jonas, and also to Tobias Feiden, to the Mosel Valley of Winningen, and just discovering, I think, some new wineries, some wineries I know for a couple of years. And it's still a new idea of making wine, of making some different wines, different Pinots in Germany. And although it's a niche, we today have, I think, around 400 hectares at the Mosel Valley, stocked with Pinot Noir, which is not in percentage, but in total more than in the Ahr Valley. Just to say, because of course our valley just has 560 hectares in total, and it's not always Pinot Noir, it's a main variety, but I think it's around 380 hectares, and so Mosel has 400 hectares today, and it doubled since the year 2000. And I was very happy when I started my trip that Jean Fisch and David Rayer just published their excellent research on Mosel Pinot Noir in their Mosel Fine Wines. So you can read there's a lot going on in the last couple of years, and I'm happy to have 3 winemakers here today, which represent 3 different parts of the Mosel Valley. And I just start with Gernot Kormann, who is managing the Weingut Emich Batterieberg in Enkirch. So it's Middle Mosel, and he's not also only managing the winery, he's also doing the wine. So it's sometimes there are both two different jobs in the winery, but you do both. And maybe you briefly introduce yourself in terms of your career, because I would say maybe 95% of winemakers in Germany are born into a winemaking family, or maybe at least in a wine region, but that's not your history. So how did it came to that you do your wines today at Emich Batterieberg?
Yeah. Surprisingly, I came to the Mosel for the Riesling, and not for the Pinot Noir. So, and the potential of Pinot Noir was totally unseen from my side in that time. So I really started in '91 at the Mosel at Dr. Losen estate. I'm coming from the Ruhr area, so so from the southwest of this big industrial area in Germany. And so it was a hobby, and so it was a decision of spring '91 to came 2 years Dr. Losen, and I'm going away for studying, coming back in '97, March '97, working a bit nearly 3 years for the Bischöfliche Weingüter. Building up Van Volksem with Roman then from 2000 on, and then there was a in-between time with consulting for a lot of estates, and in 2009 we took over this very old estate in Enkirch, and since 2009 I'm here in Enkirch.
When you did this consulting, did you come in contact with Pinot Noir already? Not by drinking, of course. That's different.
It's actually the first Pinot Noir I did by myself. So as a handcraft, it was really it was a Pinot Noir at the Ahr Valley, because I was making consultant for a foreign estate in Rech. And so that was really my first hands-on Pinot Noir, and so after this I started the Pinot Noirs here actually. But I was quite interested from the beginning of this wave, because it really, when I arrived at the Mosel, also these the Pinot Noir thing was really developing, and I had a quite long phone call today also for preparing a little bit for tonight with Heinz Welter from Später Veit Winery, because he was for me the first very serious producer here, and he really, and he told me that he planted in '91 the first vineyard, so with a Ritter clone, and that time on SO4 rootstock. That was the first thing, and he told me that the first anyway, you need a bit time, and so he had '94 the first wine, but he was not very happy in the beginning. I had also to learn. He had to learn how to do it, and this is, I think, one of the big themes then also for the Mosel, when there were so many generations without Pinot or without red wines. And the other thing is also learning about clones, rootstocks, handling the vineyards, because it was he told me that everything was too much. It was
too much wood, too much oak.
And also the rootstock too powerful for the vineyards. The wines were in Peaceport, so a lot of rotting problems in the first years with these very compact Ritter clones. I don't know many of the. So Dr. Ritter was leading the enology in Geisenheim for many years, and he was very much interested in Pinot Noirs, and so he made a lot of. There are a lot of different potential clones he created, and some are still based in this GM18 line from Geisenheim, which can be which can create problems, I would say, when they are quite when they are on a too powerful and too wet place, but they can also have wonderful aroma if they are on a very dry place and run with low yields, and in years when they don't get too compact. So
okay.
that's
well. So when you came to Imich-Bad Rieberg, so Imich-Bad Rieberg is 99% Riesling, but you found a parcel with Pinot Noir, so it's the Montenoble. This is the one where from where you source your grapes for your Montenoble Spätburgunder. Do you know which kind of clone you have in the Montenoble?
No, and that was that was a funny thing. We have no clue. We have no clue. We bought this Pinot vineyard, and because we wanted to buy another Riesling vineyard, so we had to buy it, but it's in a quite good vineyard. So it's a red slate soil vineyard, south facing, in a side valley from the Mosel, and so I would say it's a good vineyard, but we have absolutely no clue about the rootstocks and about the clone. It's also more smaller, compact clone. So it was because I was fearing it might be a Mariafelder in the beginning, because in that time there were a lot of Mariafelder planted, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. But it's definitely something smaller and much more compact. And then there were a few rows of for a coloring red wine, because the one who planted this Pinot Noir vineyard was fearing that they didn't get enough color at the Mosel. Maybe they plan because they maybe plan to have 100 hectoliter plus. I have no idea. Because it's normally coloring is not the biggest problem, and anyway, for me, a Pinot should not look like a Sauvignon, not like a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, or a Syrah, yeah.
And or a Syrah, or whatever. And so it's and so we have these 8 rows on the right side, which are now planted with a Sélection Marsale from Burgundy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's every year quite a mix now.
So to introduce Tobias, you are from Winningen, which is of course also a Riesling hotspot, which became, I think, most famous with Heimann Löwenstein, and I think maybe later also with Knebel, and more later with the wines also of Martane Schmidt estate, so the estate of your wife Rebecca and Janina Schmidt, who are doing Riesling in Winningen. But I think Heimann Löwenstein is always the point where everybody meets or has met in the history of your winemaking career. What's quite interesting is that you are, since April, a freelance winemaker. You have been doing sparkling wine at Kanal Sektkellerei. Now you focus just on your own winemaking, and you are just doing Pinot Noir. So I know you have a little bit of Chardonnay too since this year, but mainly focused on Pinot Noir, and there are not so much winemakers in the Mosel Valley who are just doing Pinot Noir. How did it come about?
Yeah, as you just mentioned before, my wife is from Martane Schmidt, Rebecca, and they started in Winningen in 2012, and we became a couple in 2012.
Where did you meet?
At Heimann Löwenstein, as you said before, like everybody who is not from Winningen, starting a winery here in Winningen, started at Heimann Löwenstein somehow. There are some others as well as Julian Renard. You also know him exactly. Yeah, and they took over a vineyard in 2014 in Lehmner Würzlei, and there was a small plot with Pinot Noir in it, and the girls are just focusing on Riesling. And I didn't want to do it, and then I said, okay, I will do it. It's not so much in the end of the day. If no one likes it, I will drink it by myself. But it ended up that it was quite good. People liked it, and now I'm almost on hectare. And unfortunately, I don't have Chardonnay this year because all the Burgundy varieties were frozen in late April. Next year, that I will pick the first Chardonnay grapes.
So we will talk about it later about winemaking at the razor's edge sometimes, which is quite common in the Mosel Valley.
So basically coming back to your questions, the girls are taking the focus on Riesling, and so that we don't. So I just took the opportunity to take over this vineyard, and since then I'm only focusing on Pinot Noir because we are in the same house. We have like a community. Also, Janina's husband does have a winery. And I'm only focusing on Pinot Noir because it's for me the most elegant red wine you can find on the earth, and they do the best white wine, which is the Riesling, and I do the best red, or try to do the best red.
So today you have how many different Pinot vineyards?
Vineyards, I have 6 different. It's almost 1 hectare now, but I make like 3 different red wines and 2 sparkling wines out of this 1 hectare.
Gernot already mentioned it. The cultivation of Pinot Noir was forbidden in the Mosel Valley between 1934 and 1988. So all the Pinot Noir we are talking about today has been planted after 1988. Yes, also these also
same for me.
Old plots in Mosel Zürich.
Yeah, my oldest vineyard is actually from Mosel Zürich. It's 1991. 1991, and the youngest vineyard I have at the moment is from 2002. So unfortunately they are not older.
And do you know what kind of clone varieties you have?
No, I can only guess. On one vineyard I know the rootstock, which is 3309. But I have no clue. For sure, I know that I have some Mariafelder clones, but also a Ritter clone, which is very compact and can be a diva in the harvest. Don't be too late, otherwise everything is rotten.
So maybe Jonas is the only one who has planted his own vineyard. Jonas, you are from the upper Mosel Valley, so which is quite a different part of the region. It's the border triangle with France and Luxembourg, and we don't have any slate there. We have limestone. And so we have a completely different kind of grape varieties there. I think the oldest one is the Elbling, and then today you have different kinds of Burgundy varieties, so Auxerrois, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay, and also Pinot Noir. And you are from a winemaker's family. I think you're living in next to your parents, but you don't do the wines together. So you started your own project around 10 years ago, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Compared to Toby and Gernot, I come from family winery. Quite small. I would say that my father was maybe first generation that produced or bottled the wine himself. And at that time we had, I don't know exactly, but we had a lot of Elbling. It was when he started, it was late 70s, beginning of 80s. And at that time, the Elbling was paid with a very good price. It went to the sparkling industry at that time, and they paid a huge price. And as well, Elbling is a very, very generous grape, so it can bring insanely high yields and still gives acidity, and yeah, it's not so intensive in aroma, so you yeah, you can really harvest tons on it. It's yeah, for me it is hard to imagine or to see old pictures with vineyards. Yeah, but that was a bit the background from my father, and in the 90s he started to focus a bit on other varieties. We had some Pinot Gris already at that time, so Grauburgunder, and in the 90s, because he had to find his clients, basically private customers that he was focusing on. And yeah, at the end he went to some wine fairs, and he offered just yeah, everything that is tasty as a wine. So we had some sweet wines, but not Riesling, but with other varieties as Kerner. Yeah, and at that time we also, as you mentioned already, that there was no Pinot Noir allowed until the late 80s. And he started as well to plant some. It was beginning maybe, I think, 94. But we have one a bit more traditional clone that has smaller grapes. That's the only one that is maybe interesting for the Pinot Noir that we want to talk about today. And the other ones, they can give like maybe a bit rosé wine. I guess it's this Maria Felder clone. I'm not an expert on that. I'm not focusing so much on that. So yeah, for me, it was clear that, as it was mentioned already, that Pinot Noir is probably the most elegant red wine that is existing. Me as a child from the Mosel, I really love Riesling. I'm a bit happy that I don't need to produce it, and I'm not planning to do that. It's easier to enjoy it. For me, for example, it's similar with Elbling. Elbling, there's not so much offer, so for me as well, there's not an ideal in my mind when I'm tasting it. With Pinot Noir, it's a bit more complicated because it offers a huge range, and of course there are certain ideals when we talk about Pinot Noir, and yeah, sometimes this can it can be tough when you are about decision making and everything. It's very, very complex, and the grape is so delicate and so sensitive to every decisions at the end. So that makes it a bit more tricky, but I assume we will talk about it later. Yeah, but very happy that Riesling is a pure joy. When I drink Riesling, I don't need to think about it. I don't need to compare with own Riesling because yeah, there is no Riesling, and it's not planned.
And when did it came to your mind to plant your own Pinot Noir?
Yeah, the decision was I think it was in 2013 that it was clear that there will be a parcel that I can plant, and I planted it in 2015. At that time I ordered the wines from Luxembourg. From the guy that planted the vineyard, and I told him about the goal, quality or high quality Pinot Noir, and I wanted not to focus so much on the genetics. I just wanted to at the end to have a surprise. But I mentioned Marsal, Sélection Marsal, but not the high end, but something in between. But I really didn't want to focus too much on the genetics. But at the end, it's a lot of Geisenheim, as it turned out. So I was a bit disappointed from the selection that he made. But I'm very happy with the result. I'm not a big fan of this Geisenheim selection, but the result for me, it's very good. So yeah, But I planted some different, because I had to replant some parts. So I planted, every time I have to replant, I take other clonal or Mosel genetics, just to spread a bit the diversity and not to have too much the genetic idea or this idea of a certain type of Pinot Noir in my mind.
Gernot,
yeah, to follow up a little bit up with this, because Jonas said, and that is absolutely true, that the Pinot can really create a very wide range of styles, and and it's a little bit like the Riesling, and you can have a super light and delicate Pinot, which makes a lot of fun from not so ripe years, smaller years, and with low alcohol, and it's super playful. And then you can also have these super great, deep, super constructed Grand Cru style Pinots, and it's everything in this variety, which you, for example, from a Cabernet, it's not possible to make it like these. Not perfectly ripe Cabernet grapes are not so. It's not so much fun, but with the Pinot you can do a lot, and that is also why it fits so good, fits so well at the Mosel, and also so to the climate situation, but also in our way of thinking, maybe, because that's what we are doing with the whites too. So we can have this super elegant, light, fine stuff, also up to very structured, very deep, dry or noble sweet Rieslings. Yeah, and that's
is it something like a USP for Mosel Pinot, that you have this wide range of possibilities for this variety?
Yeah, from my side, definitely, and that was also the decision why we are also doing definitely a more lighter style, never chaptalized, for example. So our Pinots are untypical, low in alcohol for most of the producer, and this is absolutely working. It's a specialty kind of what we are doing, but it's really working well, and some customers who are open-minded for this kind of red wine style appreciate this very much. But on the other side, you can find it in Burgundy now too, and it was
today.
Today now as more and more producer running a little bit out of the recipe thinking. In Burgundy now you have more and more delicate unchaptalized wines, and also now you can find absolutely beauty also at the Haute Côte de Nuit, Haute Côte de Beaune, which were quite rustique in the past, very often, but now you find super nice light wines from the young generation there. Yeah.
So maybe this is the comparison. I think it's always quite problematic to compare. So it's not so easy to compare Tobias Mosel Pinot to Ahr or to Pfalz or to Rheinhessen, and of course not to Burgundy. I think we have with you we have three different styles, three different subregions, at least two different soil varieties, and the same is in Burgundy too. So you, of course it's not so easy to compare some wine from Gevrey-Chambertin with I don't know, from the Côte de Beaune, for example. So it's quite different. So it's also not. It doesn't make sense to compare Mosel Pinot Noir with Burgundy, but for somebody
more not to copy, I think that
or
is,
not to copy. No,
yeah,
okay, copy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a more important thing. Comparison, it's fine. So,
yeah.
but that was also in the beginning for me often a little bit the problem that everyone had in mind. Now we have to show that we can do the biggest red wines in the world, and so it was not so much at the Mosel, but a lot in Germany with the first Pinot generation to show that we can do very powerful and very big wines, and
to show that we have the money to buy really hard, oaky, expensive barrels, for example.
Yeah. For example, that, yes. Yeah. But this is going back anyway. Also with the producer who are in former times more on that heavy side, a lot people are getting more elegant and delicate. Yeah.
Tobias, you started in 2015 with your Pinots. What has changed since 2015? So we have 9 years now. Everybody's, of course, is talking about climate change. You mentioned the frost. So this year you had more or less nothing to produce. So it's as I said, still winemaking sometimes on the razor's edge, and that will not be going better in the next years, maybe. So what did you change, and which idea do you have of making wine in the coming years? Also, when we are thinking about water supply, for example.
Yeah, since 2015, I think every vintage was different. We had 15, which was a quite okay vintage. 16 was a cooler vintage. 17, I don't really remember. But anyway, what I want to say is that the climate change doesn't mean that every year the temperature raises and it's getting riper.
No.
There are also years in between, like 21. Where we here at the Terrassen Mosel, we are the most northern part of the Mosel, but the warmest part, because we are very influenced by the Rhine area, Rhine Valley. So we are, compared to Gernot, I think we are 1.5 weeks in advance compared to the growing season. Like I pick, then Gernot doesn't even think about picking grapes. Then I already start picking.
Because I'm so lazy and I'm on holiday at the
time. Exactly. Then I think, what the fuck is he doing? Why is he on holidays? Yeah. But every year is different, and I think all three of us, we are all not chaptalizing or like focusing on trying to do spontaneous fermentation and all that kind of stuff. I didn't change actually a lot. I've learned from my first vintage, which was 2014, which was never bottled, that I'm not doing cold soak anymore. 14 was a really hard vintage at the Mosel. We had a lot of botrytis, a lot of rotten stuff, and I did get the wine cold, but it didn't get it warm fast enough. So yeah, that's the only thing I'm not doing anymore. But we have very long dry periods during the summer now, which we didn't have before. Like that started in 2018. Started to get like really long dry periods, but somehow I don't know why my Pinots can handle that quite well compared to the Riesling. The best example was in 2022. My wife was really struggling getting ripe grapes from the Riesling, from the terraces. There's a very little soil on these terraces, and somehow the Pinots managed to ripe way better than the Riesling. And yeah, so basically I didn't change a lot in my winemaking style. I always had the idea of like spontaneous fermentation, put it in a barrel for a couple of years and leave it in the bottle for 1 more year. That's basically it. Keep it as, I don't want to say natural, but like low interventional as possible. That's my major point, to show like the region, the year, also show the influence of the year, because every vintage is different.
Jonas, when we were talking in the pre-talk of the TRINKtalks, you said that you mentioned that you haven't been doing Pinot Noir for 2 years, 3 years, and now you have the 24 in the barrel, and I think you're happier with this one than the last years. How did it come? So also this tough temperatures, water, whatsoever?
I think at the end it's very simple. I didn't do my homeworks.
Okay.
No little joke. In 2021, so 2020 was the last red Pinot Noir. 21 it was botrytis, and 22 I did some red Pinot Noir, which was at the end not tasting like the previous Pinot Noir. So I decided not to bottle it. And in 23, it was similar to 21 because huge amount of rain that we had during the harvest. And for me, similar to 21, when the decision not to produce red wine was taken in the vineyard at that day that we picked, because I don't want to push the pickers. We have a lot of volunteers or people that are in pension, so the older generation, and I don't want to annoy them to do like 100%, which is necessary when you do, for example, in my case, I do whole bunch every year, because I'm not a big fan of technical stuff and the stammer. Yeah, for 2 parcels of Pinot Noir, I don't think that it's necessary to do a big investment. So for me, it's obligation to do a whole cluster every year. And for this, you need to be very, very sure that there's no hidden botrytis anywhere. And with volatile that sometimes is already in the vineyards, it's even more complicated because it's in the stems, and it's it can be a mess. And in 2022, I had some issues like that. So that's why, from 21 to 23, there was no red Pinot Noir. And 2 parcels that I have. So every year, one is quite young, and I picked it first time this year. So every year, just two attempts to produce red wine. And but the goal, of course, every year is to have this continuity, to have red Pinot Noir. Yeah, but it's definitely more complicated than other varieties, especially when it's wet. Yeah, can be complicated.
That was the same for you, Gernot, this year. You said you have just 300 liters from Pinot.
Yeah, we have anyway. We have several Pinot Noir vineyards now. So we were speaking about our red wine Pinot Noir vineyard in the Monte Neubel, and that is and that was bringing only 300 liters. But also in total, it was quite a disaster from the Pinot side, because we have a lot of Pinot now, more than a hectare in the Briedeler Herzchen. And this is not going into the red wine normally, so it's for sparkling and a bit rosé, and so we had absolutely mix of frost, hail, and Peronospora this year. And I think this is also important to say, what Jonas also said, climate change is, and also Tobias says this, climate change is not only about rising temperature. This is maybe a little effect of that, but it's really the situation to have more extreme weather situations a lot, and so this makes our life much more complicated. And you told it a bit, living on the edge or producing on the edge, but this is not only the Mosel thing anymore. So it's in many other areas with this situation too. Also going back to Burgundy, we had having a look on the last 6-7 years, there were many extremely small harvests, and so this is happening everywhere. An interesting question is really, because quite often when I'm in the US or in Asia and on a wine fair or tastings, people ask me how is it possible to get Pinot Noir ripe. at the Mosel. It's not seldom that people are asking this, because people have often the idea that Riesling is getting ripe earlier, or that this is the cold climate grape variety, and Pinot Noir is not, maybe. I can say this is definitely not the case. It's quite often easier to get the Pinot ripe. It's not. So with Pinot, you never have really ripeness problems to get it ripe enough for picking. This is not happening in the last. In the last years anymore, and so it's really more about selection and getting the perfect grapes you want to have, or which are on the quality level you want to have. And yes, and with a lot of different problems. But this is not only affecting the Pinot; it's also affecting the Riesling too.
Mm. So you said you have planted more and more Pinot Noir. Is this no?
It's also we always get Pinot Noir when we buy Riesling vineyards.
So, it's just you have to buy it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was
so
always.
It's not your own choice. Yeah.
It all came in packages, kind of, and so that's the reason why we have a quite big amount of Pinot in Riedel now. And it's great. So I'm not against this happening, and I'm also very interested in the sparkling side. So Méthode Champenois sparklings from that. So it's I'm not complaining at all, but for me the vineyards are still a bit too young and not on the level for doing red wines. But maybe there will come Briedeler Herzchen Pinot too in the future, in a few years. But I think we need 3, 4, 5 more years definitely to start with that.
Okay.
So no decision made in that direction.
Mm. So when we paint a bigger picture of Mosel, we have I think it's not so easy for the whole region to present itself, because you have this quite important wineries that maybe don't have the possibility, they don't have the problems to sell their wines, but there's a lot of wine. There's maybe too much wine at the Mosel. There's maybe also too much different grape varieties that were planted in the 70s, like Müller-Thurgau and so on. Has Pinot Noir a chance to evolve, to get more and more, to have a brighter future in the Mosel Valley? Is this maybe one of the grape varieties of the future? What do you think, Tobias?
I think so, that it does have a future, but unfortunately not as a red wine most of the time.
Okay.
A lot of people tend to drink, especially at the Mosel, Blanc de Noir. 12 grams residual sugar, that's it. But it does have a very good potential for red wine, I think. As Gernot was saying before, like people asking me, is the red wine getting ripe? For me personally, I do have the opposite philosophy, that I try to pick it quite early, that it's not getting too ripe, that I don't have like too much alcohol. I personally don't like the jammy flavors when my Pinot vineyards are getting over a certain point of Öxle. So in general, it is the future, I think, but maybe not on the top spots, like the top vineyards. I think are not going to be the top vineyards anymore in 15 years, just because of the climate change. It's too dry, especially here in our area. There's not a lot of soil, and I think no matter what you grow on there, it's just too dry during the summertime.
Statistically, I would also say that we are not growing anymore in the from the red wine side, and that has a little bit to do with the market too. It's in the moment it's really white wine time, on the market, and more and more producers have problems. And I'm not speaking only about Mosel to sell their reds. And I think it's in the moment it's much easier to sell whites. And so I think the motivation for people to plant more and more Pinot at the Mosel is not so big in the moment.
But isn't that exactly the chance for Mosel Pinot Noir when we maybe can compare it more to Riesling than to Cabernet Sauvignon? So we have a lighter style where we don't have so much alcohol. You can drink these Pinot Noirs slightly cooled, so they have flavors and aromatics which can be sometimes compared to Riesling. So for me, this is a little bit unique, and the chance to build a reputation. But what I see is, and you said that before, you are exporting the Pinot Noir, around 90% or 95% of the Pinot Noir abroad, but you don't sell it in Germany. So does this Mosel Pinot Noir not yet has any reputation in Germany?
I think that the situation is really that the most little bit bigger estates in the Mosel anyway have a very high export rate. And so it's sometimes easier to put this in the markets. And then in Germany, the shops you're working with, they anyway have a quite, and before you arrived with your Pinot, they had a quite big range of German Pinot Noirs from Pfalz, Baden, and so on. And so maybe from my side, I can also say I was maybe not motivated enough to fight so much for the German market. So it's maybe our own fault and not the situation of Mosel Pinot in general. But I know that a lot of estates which have Pinot Noir and, for example, big amount of private customers, they are selling quite well, and for them the Pinot Noir for the private customers is absolutely important.
Forgive me for jumping in.
I just wanted to ask, should we involve the audience? Are there questions?
Exactly. We've got a couple of fantastic questions that I can throw out and then have you guys answer, and then we should probably wrap up right about the hour. I know that we've already taken up so much of everybody's time. I lost track of time because I was so fascinated by everything everybody was saying and lost my role there. All right, so the first question we had was a general question from Don. He said, I have experience with Baden Spätburgunder, but no exposure to the Mosel Pinots. Might everybody be able to briefly touch on what to expect when I come and visit and taste or buy their Pinots? So can you give a brief, I know you talked, Christoph, a bit about the different styles, but maybe if you could put it into the context of a Baden Spätburgunder, which might be better known to what to expect in the Mosel.
Who would like to answer?
I think Gernot.
Yeah, it's actually I would say you can find a more diverse style at the Mosel than you find it in Baden. You can really you have it here from this super light delicate to also some bigger a bit in the international style direction stuff, which you maybe more can which you also maybe more you can compare it with the Baden style. But also in Baden you have different, if you see Basenhaus or you see Huber in the younger vintages, it's also not big Pinots anymore. Also very, very delicate, for example. And so it's you have a big range at the Mosel too. And if you come, you send me an email, I can send you a list so that you can visit 5, 6, 7 estates with different styles, maybe.
Maybe I think the Pinots from Baden are a little bit more flashier. And the ones from the Mosel in general are a little bit more floral and have more of this white wine aromatics, I would say. Yeah, but that's in general. Yeah, it's always.
Also, they need age for my. So actually, every of the good Mosel producer all make wines for aging. And they also need the time and really it's nothing which maybe you could develop the idea. Oh, it's maybe a little bit lighter and it's opening up and it's a fresh young summer red wine. I would not say this. So because a lot of the good producer are doing quite structured wines with a good need of aging.
I'd like to drink the 2011 Montenegro, for example.
Yeah.
At the moment, or 2013. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I opened the 2005 Uli Stein. I see that Steven Witterold is also here. He will be happy. And because he was really one of the old guys who started. He was very important for the starting of Pinot Noir. And so 2005, I've in the glass. Also, you see the color. So it's an absolutely fresh, young, precise color. There's zero aging in that wine, and so can definitely have 10, 15 years more without showing age.
Perfect. Then there was a question that was briefly touched on before, but I think they want to sort of dig a little bit deeper. Is there a movement, Patrick asks, is there a movement in the Mosel to plant Pinot in more prime vineyards, or do you see this happening in the future?
A lot of Pinot is in the prime vineyards. Yeah.
There is already, and there will be more. When you look at Trona Hofberg, for example, there are different important growers or winemakers growing new vineyards. Yeah.
It is not important to put the Pinot in the hottest vineyards. It's not. No. It's absolutely. It's really. It can be absolutely. So it should be fine soil, but maybe not the very hottest spot in the first row, in the lowest row at the riverfront. This is something I wouldn't do anymore. So I would plant a little bit higher, maybe. Or so it's no need for the center of Uhlen, for example, speaking about Winningen, or put Pinot Noir in the Prälat, in the Erdner Prälat. I would say this is absolutely not necessary.
So it's more about fitting the vineyard to the variety rather than deciding something is prime or not on its own.
Some nice iron would be nice. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then the last question, I think, was asked by Havard. Quite a few vineyards in the Mosel are work intensive. What is, if there is, the difference in work hours, cost of working the vineyard, and the economic yield of Pinot Noir versus Riesling and the Mosel? Which is an interesting question about labor, which we didn't touch on.
Mm-hmm. Tobias, maybe, because Jonas doesn't have...
I have to read the question again because I didn't understand it.
I think that the question in general is asking, is Pinot more labor intense than Riesling? In the Mosel specifically?
In the end of the day, everything is very labor intense at the Mosel because we have to do everything by hand. But depending on the year, you have, like Jonas said before, Pinot Noir is a diva, and if you want to make a decent red wine, you have to do a lot of sorting during the picking. But in the growing season, in the end of the day, it's the same work. If it's growing on a steep slope, you don't have so high yields anyway. Like I never touched the 30 hectoliters per hectare anyway, so I'm not reducing or cutting grapes in half or so. But if you have a really hard harvest, it costs a little bit more of your nerves and of your money to get the grapes in. But yeah, not during the work or growing season. No.
And for you, Jonas, at the Obermosel, just to ask him, compared to your neighbors who are still doing I think the classic stuff there.
It's definitely for the approach without adding yeast. It's definitely the security that you have or need to have to work like that. And yeah, that's the biggest job, as Toby said, during the harvest, to do the selection and to be very precise, to lower the risk. And I think that's the biggest job. And for me, the vineyards are more or less the same. They are for debudding or those work to take away some leaves so that the grapes get more exposed to sun. This is more or less the same for all the vineyards, or the way that I handle them, because yeah, I prefer to handle them more or less all in the same way, to not to have differences already from the work that I'm doing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And just before we close out, where can people find each of your wines? We have a wonderfully wide and diverse audience from all across Europe and the States, but maybe if you could just let people know briefly where they might reach out to find some of your bottles. Jonas, we can start with you.
Yes, in the US, it's from Boden. Hello, Stephen. And yeah, the other countries I have to check. Maybe soon I can provide information on my homepage. So yeah, just a bit of patience and I will deliver it.
In Germany, it's cool climate in Frankfurt.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
For example.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, it's also Pinot de Picard, for example. Yeah. Are there more?
No, you know them.
Yeah.
Toby?
Actually, in the US, you can't find it anymore. I was working with Lyle Fuss, but we are not continuing to work together. You can find him in Italy at Arcavini. I don't know how many countries I should tell now, but or in Amsterdam you can find him at Winehouse Amsterdam, in Denmark at Windfoyeren, in Poland. I forgot the name; it's really hard to pronounce as a German. In Spain you can find him, but if you just shoot me an email, I can, wherever you're from, I can send you an answer. Where's the closest?
Yeah.
Want to find it.
Gernot.
Yeah, it's also a bit complicated because also we are in a lot of countries. I think we have 22 export countries in the moment. So when I see the list, it's mainly Louis Dressner selection for the USA, and I think for all the other countries, maybe you write me an email, and so it's easy to find something for you. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we've gone a bit over, but I kind of knew that coming into this. Once again, just want to say thank you so much to each of you. Thank you to Christoph for bringing your amazing hosting skills. I have so much to learn from you. And tune in next month. If you're subscribed to our newsletter, we'll announce the date and topic that we have coming up. We offer these to subscribers once a month. And I think that's about it from my side. Christoph, final words to you.
Thank you so much for everybody joining us.
Thank you.
To be interested in Mosel Pinot Noir, and let's raise the glass for the future of Mosel Pinot Noir. Although I have forgotten my bottle of Mosel Pinot Noir to bring it to the office and to open it tonight. So I'm sorry.
Fantastic green tea in your hands. A fantastic green tea.
I will do this later this evening, because now it's 6 o'clock. So maybe at 8.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.